Hello, this is Dread from Epic Builds. In today's video topic, we're going to be talking about Volatile Zombies. Volatile Zombies is one of the new skills that got added in 8.2, other than Stormcrow. And from what I've heard so far, Stormcrows kind of fell flat on their face, at least for the time being, until someone finds a way to actually play them. But Volatile Zombies are an expansive toolkit of different kinds of builds. You can go puke, you can go explosions, you can go sacrifice. There are a lot of different ways to play Volatile Zombies, and it's definitely a very strong new tool in the arsenal that is Necromancer. Now, what I'm doing with this build, I'm focusing on vanilla explosion Volatile Zombies. I just really wanted to play with just the explosions and see how well they are. Now, to put it bluntly, this feels a lot like a fire trap build from PoE. At the same kind of AoE, the same kind of delay. Yes, there is a delay. There are two issues with Volatile Zombies that you need to get past. First things first, when you summon them, they crawl out of the ground, right? So there's always a delay on when they're summoned. That's the first thing. The second thing that there's an issue with Volatile Zombies is they never spawn at your cursor. They always spawn under you, like at your body, right? That's an issue. Now, there's only so much you can do about that, so mainly it makes you play a lot more melee than normal because you don't want to wait for your minions to run towards enemies because that's inefficient as that takes too much time. So you end up just kind of like carpet bombing people. You're kind of like laying down mines like from PoE. It's really cool playstyle. But one thing that's cool about Volatile Zombies, if you did not know, if you reached the max of zombies, which is 6 right now, and you cast another zombie, the last zombie will detonate from the chain. So if you sit on a boss and you keep casting zombies and you go over 6, you're not losing damage. You're actually making your damage happen faster. And thanks to Dread Shade, which gives us an insane amount of cast speed, which scales with how little the enemy HP bar is, it allows us to pretty much destroy any single target we really need to. And it's absolutely insane. Now, it's clear is good. It's just, like I said, it's just a little bit delayed, so we do have to run a little bit tankier than normal Necromancer builds, as we're normally in melee range, a lot more in melee range than other Necromancer builds. Now, other things this patch has changed. So we're actually running a decent chunk of mana regen. So in patch 8.2, they reduced the base mana regen from 10 mana to 8 mana. Now, that might seem like a nerf, but what they did instead as well is they buffed the ever living crud out of mana regen percentage. So instead of just like 12% mana regen percentage, you get like 40% mana regen percentage. So it's an overall plus, but you do have to invest into it. So pretty much what that means is it also got moved back to prefixes instead of suffixes. Now, this is actually good because there's a lot of builds that could not properly utilize double suffixes, especially on things like rings, because some builds don't have a double suffix. Like, for instance, if you're playing like a lightning blast, I mean, if you're like playing like a melee build, right? You're playing like a melee build, like an erasing strike melee build, you only have void damage on your prefix on your rings and crit chance. Nothing else. You could never run anything else. But now you can run mana regen on those prefixes. On your amulet, you can get 40% mana regen. On the prefix of your relic, you can get 40% mana. You can get like 35% or something like that. An insane amount of mana regen. I have constantly been at 15 mana regen this entire time. You can also get mana regen on the tree now through a lot of different means, from different passive points and all that, and you can get a lot of it. Now on this build, I actually get 20% from the passive tree thanks to Apocrypha being changed this patch. And I'm also utilizing Transplant for the 30 mana gain back. I'm utilizing Aura of Decay for the HP recovery. Rip Blood is just there so that when I am on a single target, like a big fat single target like Orbis or something like that, which there is a gameplay, I don't know where it'll be, but if you're sitting on a big fat target, you can just spam Rip Blood to get your mana back real quick to spam more zombies. So that you can, like, for instance, is really good against Rai, because Rai has a lot of times where he's, immobile. So it lets you get out as much DPS as possible. Now, could you run something else instead of Rip Blood, like a different kind of minion? Yes. Do I really want to? Not really. I wanted to see how good Volatile Zombies could perform themselves. Now, in terms of damage, Volatile Zombies actually do a lot of damage. So it's kind of like Old Sacrifice in the way where, sure, each individual zombie does not do that much damage, but the issue is every single time you hit, you're usually hitting with like 5 to 6 zombies. So each one are hitting for like 2k, but you end up hitting for like 12k overall. Now, with this build, I started as non-crit. I thought I was going to stay non-crit, but a friend of mine, Zeker, he's actually a really famous Necromancer player. He plays a lot of Necromancer. He's like the number 2 Necromancer right before Tunk. But so pretty much he had the idea of playing Logi's Hunger. Now, that's a unique that was added last patch with the Monolith update. So it's an amulet that gives you plus 3% base crit for your minion spell, fire minion spells. So these are fire minion spells because the Volatile Zombies explosion is a spell. So you actually get the base crit, so you can bring your base crit from 5% to 8%, which may not sound much, but that's like a 50%, almost a 50%, like almost like, it's like 40, 50%, almost 50% more crit, which means that you can, instead of having your crit at like 25%, you can have your crit all the way at 50%. Now, a lot of people ask me, Dread, 40% crit's bad. Well, you got to think of it like differently, right? Now, I'm already doing enough damage to clear enemies with no crits, as you can tell in the footage, right? Well, if I get 40% crit, and if you've come from Path of Exile, you'll know this. Think of what 40% chance to double your damage is, right? That's an insane mod in Path of Exile. Now, that's pretty much what you're doing, is you have a 40% chance to double your damage at a baseline. You can add crit, which, by the way, they changed the rings, the minion damage rings, into minion crit multi rings that you can use as well on top of the crit multi on the top of the Necromancer tree. Now, this did come at a cost. Death Rattle did get nerfed, so instead of running Death Rattle, we're going to run Logi's Hunger for the base crit, which is absolutely insane. With that being said, I got to level 90, level 90 monoliths already. I just finished my first level 90 monolith. I plan on doing the other 2, and then I plan on farming empowered shamans until I get Logi's Hunger, so I can get that set up, and then there will be a much more in-depth build guide then. This is just a video I thought I'd make while I had the time, and of course to talk about the first patch. Other things as well is the new monolith system's absolutely amazing. This is exactly what we've needed for this entire year. I'm very proud for the EHG team. They've done a wonderful job with this patch. I'm absolutely blown away, as always, as I am. I may have my criticisms, but they always over-deliver on every single patch, which I absolutely love. And with that being said, let's get into the build, shall we? Here we are in game with the Volatile Zombies Necromancer. So just so you guys know, I have not unlocked the rest of my idle slots. They've kind of messed around with the idle slot quests, so I need to go finish those, but I thought I'd just do endgame first, because those 3 idle slots aren't very useful anyways, so I just keep playing the game like normal, and we'll finish those later. Now, the name is Exploding Kittens, of course, because of the card game, so we're exploding kittens, very fun. I am res capped, I have decent movement speed, I have decent amount of damage, but the main star of the show is Volatile Zombies here. They're doing a lot of damage on the dummy. About like 20k without a crit, 40k with a crit right now. Absolutely insane. That's like disgusting amounts of DPS considering. So each one is doing that as well. Now, they're really cool. I really like them. They're a really good thing for the minion arsenal. So I'm not going to go over too in depth, but what I am going to do is I'm going to link an imager folder for these links for the photos or something like that, because The planner isn't updated yet, so we're just gonna have to go back to what we normally do with taking pictures and stuff for now. If you guys want a more in-depth look at what I'm taking on skills, but there will be a much more in-depth build guide soon when I get Logi's Hunger. Now, the main things we are taking is the mana efficiency and the summoning speed. This makes it so that zombies summon faster. Then we take more damage. This will reduce our movement speed by a large chunk, but the more damage multiplier is definitely worth it. 1 point travel into Daunting Blast so that we can get 2 points into Ravenous. This is where all of our single target comes from. 60% more damage against bosses and rares. Completely destroys. 5 points into Fervor, so for another 40% more damage multiplier and more movement speed. This stacks with increased movement speed as a more multiplier, so if you get any increased movement speed anywhere, like for instance as I have on my relic, the movement speed here, it'll make it so it's even more movement speed. And then, of course, we have 5 points into the increased area. This has been the best way I've found to play it, as all the other ways are either a different build, i.e. with the Repulsive Vomit, that's a different build. I'll actually link that build, I think, in the description if you guys want a Vomit build. This will be from Zeker. He just made it recently. But yeah, this is more explosion-oriented if you just want explosions. No puke. This is more explosion-oriented. Yeah, then we grab 5 points in the explosion area, obviously, so big kabooms. Then other skills as well. We're mainly running Transplant to give us the 30 mana back, missing mana restored. This plus our gigantic amount of mana regen make sure that we have enough mana to spam zombies. And of course, on a single target, if we need even more zombies as well, because as you can tell, Dreadshade gives us a shit ton of cast speed, we can just use Rip Blood and it's just fine for now. And I plan on getting more mana regen so I can spam zombies even harder on single target thanks to Dreadshade. Dreadshade, the way we're utilizing it is we're using it as a curse. So we're planting it on the enemy, we're making it so that we're affected, and it gives our zombies about 85% more damage thanks to all the nodes, which is absolutely insane. And then of course that scales with how much HP the enemy is missing, general, Dreadshade stuff. Then you get like the 45% increased attack and cast speed, which counts for you and your minions. So you get the cast speed buff so that whenever you're sitting on a target spamming zombies at them, right, you get a bunch of cast speed. Or if you want, the best thing about this is while they're in the area, their damage, the zombies' damage, will always be affected by the Dreadshade's curse. So what happens is you summon zombies here and the enemy's over here. They'll walk into the circle and then explode and they'll get them more damage. So no matter what, even if you curse an enemy from far away, you can still stay ranged with the curse with Dreadshade, which is absolutely amazing because that's one of Dreadshade's issues, is that specifically. So that's very nice. Now for other stuff, we're running the stereotypical Aura of Decay setup, where you turn off the poison with Decrepify, and we also run the Absence of Life with healing effectiveness so that we actually have a way of sustaining our HP instead of life regen, because we are a minion build, and minion builds generally don't have a way of leeching their HP. I did try Necromantic Fever. Now the way this works is it takes 3% of their max health and heals it to you. You can scale this with increased health. My build doesn't scale increased health because we are not an actual minion build. We're just using them to deal damage. We're not actually having them survive and do stuff, so their health is very low. But the thing is, it doesn't matter because as soon as they hit a target, they explode anyways. Now, my issue is the amount of healing is increased by healing effectiveness. I thought that was regular healing effectiveness, like my healing effectiveness. No, that is not the case. It is increased minion healing effectiveness, which is much harder to get, especially as an acolyte. I believe it might not be, I have no clue, but it's not, the wording is kind of bad, like if it means you or us. Like I have no clue. If someone could help me out with this, like I have no idea. That's like one thing I'm not so sure about. But in the next video, once we get Logi's Hunger, we can get +2 to a Volatile Zombie, which means we can take 1 point out of Fervor and put 3 points into Necromantic Fervor, right? Which will give us 3% of their HP. And then we can also grab some HP nodes in the tree, mainly this node here. Or you can grab some HP and put it on her shield instead of block chance instead. My shield's absolute garbage, by the way. But yeah, we could run increased minion health here, and that should be in theory, enough to sustain us and actually give us a little bit of sustain without having to use Ore of Decay. Now, obviously, we're going to still use Ore of Decay, but this is just extra healing, right, to keep us topped off. Because we're always going to be spamming zombies, right? So this should always keep us healed up. But like I said, I need to figure out what's going on with that. Now, my crit is about 23%. With Logi's Hunger, this will up to like 40%. I do plan on building more crit in my idols. There are other idols that Volatile Zombies run. Where is it here? Here it is. So we have this increased Volatile Zombie explosion area. This is not necessary. If you can fit it in, fine, but it's not necessary. In this patch, idle slots have been changed so that 4x1s are a lot less viable to use now. Like, you can only run 2, and if you run 2, you can't run 1x4s or 2x2s. And as you know, 2x2s have a lot of healing effectiveness, which is really good for this kind of build. So we end up just running about like 2 1x4s and 2 1x3s for crit, and then filling it out with random stuff. Probably with just some minion fire damage at the top here, right? Or infinity fire damage or physical or whatever, because we are fire and physical, so it's half and half. And then we get fire from the tree thanks to Moonlight Pyre as well. But like I said, yeah. And instead of this adorned idol, we can move like an HP idol right here, and then put a 1x4, and then put the minion fire, and then keep this healing effectiveness idol here. That's what I plan on doing for idols, is getting another one crit chance so that we're critting all the time. For gearing, it's pretty simple. We want the Ivory Mask with crit chance plus those Volatile Zombies, HP, and Endurance. For the amulet, we want the gold amulet base until we get Logi's Hunger. Once we get Logi's Hunger, we'll need to take 2 suffixes on different kinds of pieces of gear, probably on our mountain shield or something like that, and run fire and lightning. But then after that, we should be capped because of the node on the Necromancer tree, which gives us 30% elemental res. Now, for weapon, we run the Skeletal Scepter with the minion spell damage and minion physical. The reason why we run the minion physical is because half of our damage is physical, while the spell damage affects all of our damage, while the physical affects half of our damage. But the thing is, we don't have anything else to actually run our stuff with. Then on Preface, we run cast speed, run the Skeletal Scepter for the increased minion damage. For our chest, I was trying to craft a chest. I did not manage to craft one, so I ended up dealing with this one. We want the endurance base for percentage endurance. We want the vitality for more HP because we want to get a little bit tankier because we're going to be face tanking a lot more things than your normal Necromancer build does. But you want the crit chance because we're going to be swapping over to Logi's Hunger. This is a additional like 3% crit as well once we get Logi's Hunger. Then you want HP. For the shield, healing effectiveness, minion HP if we end up going for the Necromantic Fervor here. So we want to increase minion HP on our shield here instead of block. We're not building it a block. We're using our shield for the endurance percentage. And then, of course, for the healing effectiveness, because we are running Ore of Decay. And the healing effectiveness should affect us if it does affect our zombies, which is really nice because it double dips. And then for our rings, we run healing effectiveness damage, HP, res, probably more res to cap us, HP. Now, instead of that lightning damage, that can be mana regen, by the way. So we actually have a T20 belt we can use, which is absolutely insane. That plus flat should be increased health, but I'm not going to complain. The gloves, that 70 endurance could be a res or something, but I'm not going to complain. It's perfect otherwise. Like, that's a lot of EHP. For our boots, we run movement speed, HP. Like I said, I ran out of hybrid health shards, so I ended up just using flat health. Then for our relic, we want to use the Ruined Bones relic, as you can run minions movement speed, minion damage, which is insane for us because since our minions are doing physical and fire, minion percentage damage is one of the best ways of scaling our damage. And then minion health should be able to increase the amount of healing we get when we use the zombies. Then healing effectiveness for Ore of Decay and the zombies, increase damage, and then res. And that's pretty much it for the gearing there. Sorry about that. Ooh. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then for idols, obviously crit. That's pretty much it for the gearing. Now, I do have, where is it? I do have one what is it called? Blessing with Void Res, but that's it for my blessings. I do have an all res blessing, and I just got a minion damage, increased damage from the shamans, but that's about it for blessings. But that's pretty much it for the build guide. But that being said, I'll have a much more in-depth build guide when I get Logi's Hunger. But that being said, thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you're at, and bye!